welcome to Super Bale Sews. My name's Sarah. Thanks for joining me today. I hope you've had a good week. I feel like I've had a really productive week this week, quite surprisingly. You may notice that behind me I have something that looks like a more complete Kalle shirt. Now it's not completely finished yet, but basically I worked out the problem with my sewing machine. I say that. I didn't work out exactly what the problem was, but there were a series of steps. When I put a post on Instagram, there were a series of things that people told me to do, and when I was initially having issues, I did them all, and nothing really happened. And then I was just a little nervous about sending my machine off to have it fixed. I wasn't sure when I'd get it back. I was worried it might get damaged in transit. Lots of other things. So I thought the other day, I'm just going to sit down and I'm going to go through all of those steps again and see if I have any luck. And I had luck, baby. It's working again. So so that means I didn't have to send it off to get mended. I could do some work on the shirts now. There have been a couple of issues as a result of what's gone on. So you might see this second button here, so this one is like slightly off, and that's because that's the spot where the when the machine malfunctioned before, where it sort of kept stitching over itself, and I ended up with this thick bunch of stitches, and I tried to cut some of them out, and I did a bit, but it got to a point where it was actually it seemed to be doing more damage to try and cut it away than to just leave it. So the actual buttonhole I ended up sewing for there is just slightly to the side, which, I mean, I keep looking back at it in the screen. It's very irritating, but I also think, I'm not a big perfectionist, so I know for some people they would just never wear this shirt, but I'm not that big a perfectionist, and I think I'll probably forget down the line. The buttons I'm really pleased with. I think I showed you them before. They're Pigeon Wishes buttons that I just happen to have in my stash, and they pick out the other green elements in the fabric really nicely. So the only issue I've had with this, so it is the Closet Core Kalle shirt pattern, and I've put the sleeves on from the expansion pack, and I'm having issues with the cuffs, so they seem really way too big, and at the moment I'm sort of umming and ahhing back because the sleeve's too long, so I'm sort of I was hoping that it would be tight enough that would hold the cuff at my wrist, and then I might just get a bit of billow in the sleeve. But obviously, if the cuff isn't tight enough, that's not going to work. So I need to have a little play around with what I'm going to do with the button placement there. But every other element of it is done now. The fit through the bodice is nice. I'm really pleased with it. And generally, I'm quite happy with the make. It's not quite the finish I wanted because of the whole button mishap. But overall, I think it looks nice. I think it's very wearable. It's good length. I made the tunic length, which is the middle. So there's like a dress and there's a cropped length. And I made the tunic, which is like quite a long top version. But yeah, I'm really pleased it's almost done. So I'm going to make a decision this week. I'm going away with my mum up north this week, and we're going to be doing lots of wedding-y things. And I'll chat a bit about that later, but basically I'm not bringing my sewing machine with me. So I'm going to try and bring some things that I can do by hand, which will include sorting out where to sew the buttons on. So that's one make. Another make is the one I'm wearing right now. Now, I actually made this at the start of January. This was one of my makes for the Jenny Stitches blog. I'll pop a picture up here. And it is a very heavily hacked version of the Stanton sweater by Cashmerette. I wanted to do like a sort of colour block, but I wanted to sort of pick the blocking myself. And the Stanton hoodie by Cashmerette already has like quite a sort of modular design, so it's in lots of different panels, so it was quite easy to make it into what I wanted it to be, basically. There's much more information on that on the Jenny Stitches blog. I will pop a link for that down below, so please do go and read it. She's got lots of other interesting blog posts up there. So it's definitely worth a look. Now, someone asked me a while ago to talk a bit about boucle, so I have some here left over, and I thought I'd just do some basics of my experience with it. So prior to making this sweatshirt, I'd made the paper cut patterns Nova coat in boucle, so I'll pop a picture of that here as well. And I have to say, it is really easy to work with, okay? If you're thinking of making a coat, but you're a little bit worried about working with, like, well, either it could be that the fabric, boiled wools and stuff are really expensive, so it might be you don't want to go straight in with something expensive. Also, they tend to be very thick. Boucle it's just very easy to work with. So I had actually never considered it for a sweater until I saw another post of someone making a sweater with it last year. And because what I hadn't really registered when I made the coat is that it has diagonal stretch. So there is more... Oh, there we go. Hang on, that's not diagonal. There we go. So there is a bit more movement in the fabric than I had sort of recognised. It's quite lightweight. You can see... It won't work with this because the light's in front of me, but you can actually see through in places. So there are places where, for anyone who doesn't know, boucle has this sort of textured, it's almost like lots of little knots, like very tight little coils. And then there are places in the fabric that show through a bit more. So it's just a bit lighter weight than your average wool, I would say. Comes in lots of good colours. It doesn't fray. So hang on, this is the cut edge, and I would have cut this absolutely ages ago. Don't know what went on there. Let's not ask. But it hasn't frayed at all. So actually the inside of my sweater is, I just left the edges raw because also I feel like I'm going for a sort of cozy rustic look. And the inside, again, I'll pop a picture of some of the inside panels up here. But yeah, it's just, I would definitely recommend if you want to get going with something that's a little bit heavier weight, and it could either be for a sweatshirt or like a cardigan, or or a coat. It worked really well for the Nova coat, actually. I've seen lots of them in boucle, and it obviously just lends itself really well. I would definitely say boucle is like the perfect introduction to sewing with sort of outerwear fabrics. And yeah, it's very, I mean, I've got 4 colours here. So I've got, I think this one is ochre, this one is ocean, this one is mauve. You can't see that one very well, but it's like a purpley colour. And then this one, what was this called? Merlot, I think, or claret, or some other sort of red wine name. I think Jenny only has a couple of colours. She has one other colour, which is rust, I think. It's like an orangey colour. She has, I think, only a couple of shades left in stock, but do go and check those out. Obviously, we're sort of going into spring now, but I'm wearing this jumper all the time, and it's sewed up really quickly. So, yeah, so please like and share that with you now. If you have any more questions about boucle, let me know. I can't really think of what else to say about it, apart from don't be afraid to use it. But if you've got any specifics that I can be helpful with, let me know. So what else have I been sewing this week? When I say I've been productive, I think it was because I was panicking about my machine being taken away. So at the start of the week, I got what felt like loads done. So I finished this off, almost. I've also sewn my first Marnie. So I bought this at the knitting and stitching show. That was really good fun, actually, because it was the first time I'd seen any of the Tilly people since the photo shoot thing I did, and they had my Billy dress from the photo shoot on display. So I was, as I told you at the time, really cool and posed with it. It was not embarrassing at all. But yeah, I picked up this pattern at the time. It had been fairly newly released then. Now, I know you're going to be thinking, Sarah, you keep going on about how you make these patterns that gather above the bust, and then you don't like how they look because they sort of disappear into your cleavage. I know. But like, why are all the patterns at the moment with this sort of silhouette? Don't know. Anyway, I have made, so we're going out tomorrow. We don't massively celebrate Valentine's Day, and this year I'm going to be away. But normally we go out for a meal or something like on a surrounding day, so that you're not crammed in with everyone and you're not paying an absolute fortune for like normal food. So we're actually going tomorrow. We're going to a cocktail masterclass that Nate was given as a birthday present. And then we're going out for our sort of Valentine's meal. And I have made, it's a bit on the nose actually, a Marnie. So I don't know how well you can see. So this fabric is the Swooning Hearts viscose crepe, I think, from the Fabric Godmother Valentine's collection. I do wish I'd been able to double side the frill, but I didn't quite have enough fabric. It was quite expensive. I mean, it's not expensive, the cost is what it is, but I bought 2.5 meters because that's what I could afford. What I will say is that the pattern said that I needed 3 point something meters, and I got this out of 2.5. Okay, so it's always just worth checking if you can. But I do sort of wish, so in the instructions, the frills are single-sided, but I probably would have done it a double-sided one so you don't get these flashes of the lighter colour, but I just didn't have enough left. So yeah, so that's the only thing that I'm not sure about, but otherwise I really love it. I don't know how well you can see because it's so busy. I put in the sort of undulating tucks, and I did the shoulder frills. With the sleeves, I just did them plain, so you can also put tucks just here on the sleeve across this bit, but I decided not to. I had read that with sort of drapey fabrics, the tucks are really tricky, but I found them okay. You just have to be steady. Do you know what I mean? Just go slowly and press really carefully. But it was doable. I mean, it would obviously be easier if it was in a crisp sort of cotton or something. But and I finished it off. I got this little button on the back, which is a little clock. I think I bought these when I went to Boys in York with Judy from Running So and So. And then I've also added, because I'm obviously love is in the air, I added this isn't going to focus, I don't think, a love label, which is a Sarah's Hearts label, which I was given in my Christmas stocking from my lovely mum. So yeah, the only thing I would say with this, and I haven't taken pictures yet, so I'll wear it tomorrow and take some pictures to post. And I'm going to try and do monthly make videos, so there'll be a clearer picture in that. Like the panels, it will just be how I cut it out, but the panels ended up all being not quite the same length. So I had to shorten it a bit, and I think ideally I would have it a bit longer. So I think my version, when I put it on, I think it's a bit shorter than the version in the pictures. Just because I just obviously cut something wrong and then had to trim it. But I'm pleased with that for my first Marnie, actually. And I definitely would make a dress. Again, would I have to wear it belted? Maybe. I might try it with a sort of cheaper fabric, like a dress, because I don't want to make something I'm not going to wear. But I really enjoyed sewing that, actually. Everyone says it's quite involved. And I mean, I suppose the tucks are quite involved. It's got a bound neckline. So they tell you can make your own binding, but I used leftover binding that I had from the zero waste dress I made, so that came in the Hey So Sister box. It's got a sort of keyhole opening at the back, which is very pretty. And yeah, it's in their full size range, 6 to 34. And you've got loads of options. So I've seen some people making the version where they don't put any of the extras. So they don't have the frills, they don't have the tucks or anything. And it's just like a nice billowy sort of slightly boho dress or blouse. I wasn't going to do the shoulder frills initially, but then I actually quite like the shape it gives me. I always find I'm just trying to balance out, like, I've spoken about, you're probably sick of me talking about being busty, but I'm busty. And sometimes it's nice to sort of balance it out. And I feel like the shoulder frills sort of balance a bit. But we'll see when I wear it, I guess. But yeah, so that was one thing I made this week. And then I've also finished, less exciting, another pair of pajamas, which means I can finally stop wearing my Christmas pajamas all the time. So I used the same patterns as before. So I did use the Stanway tee from their Ahead of the Curve, Cashmere Ahead of the Curve book. And I made it with short sleeves this time. And this fabric is from H&F Fabrics in Brighton. And it's just a cotton jersey with some nice little rainbows and hearts on. And some ribbing, which I think was from Jenny Stitches. I think the shade was, I'm going to say mauve. I'm going to say it was a mauve. I'm not 100% sure what shade mauve is. I think it's like pink, but sometimes it's like a little bit purpley. But anyway, I think that's what it was called. And then I made the Hudson pants for the trousers. I didn't do the drawstring this time because I didn't have one that matched. So the contrasts, as I've said, are all in pink. And I've got the little pink cuffs at the bottom. But yeah, I didn't have a drawstring. And I sort of thought, I just don't want to buy a drawstring just for that. So I just didn't sew. There's a step when you sew in buttonholes, which the drawstring eventually comes through, and I just didn't bother with that step. And and I just sewed it right the way through. Yeah, so these are going to be my main pajamas. I love my Christmas pajamas, and I've still been wearing them because they're my coziest pajamas, but now they can go away till next Christmas, which is great. Yeah, so that's pretty much what I have to say, apart from I ordered, so I was on a Facebook like sewing group. I'm on a couple, so I can't remember which one it was, but someone had posted saying that their mum was getting rid of a load of saris, and they were selling them at a really good price, and that they would be great for dressmaking fabric. You get at least 4 meters, and they were 20 pounds they were selling them for, and they were on, I think it was Etsy, it took me through to, and there were a whole selection of them you could pick. So a lot of them are gone, but there was one that caught my eye. Now I love sparkly things. So the one that caught my eye, I don't know how to hold this up to you best, was this one. Now, it's got peacocks. It's got this beautiful embellishment. I mean, just absolutely stunning. I haven't measured it yet, but there was absolutely loads. It is see-through. I don't know if you can see that, but my hand, you can see through there. So you'd obviously have to line it. But it's gorgeous. I just don't know what it would cost to buy. I mean, the one little thing, when it came, I was a bit like, I just almost don't want to cut it up. But, and maybe I won't. Maybe it's just one of those things I'll just have. But I did think, I've got a few wedding things this year, and I've been trying to plan in advance, because actually, so we've got obviously our wedding, and then we have 3 wedding events that are all on the same weekend. And I'm trying to think about like how to make the outfits work. So I've got a plan for one, which is going to be a 2-piece, and then I was thinking of making another a dress, and then just mixing and matching those between the different events. And I was thinking making a nice sort of wrap style dress with a nice sort of floaty sleeve would be really gorgeous in that fabric. But yeah, it's just so nice that I'm gonna sit on it for a bit. I also had to check. I was like, is it okay to cut up a sari? Like, I don't want to be disrespectful. So I googled it, and people seem to be always doing it, so hopefully it's fine. But if you know for any reason that it's not okay to do that, please do let me know. But I mean, the women selling it were like, it would be great for dressmaking or whatever. So yeah, so that was, it feels like a real find, because it's just so beautiful and so intricately decorated in a way that I don't think I'd be able to find in a normal fabric shop. So I'll try and take a picture of the embellishment so that you can see it a bit more clearly. But yeah, and I love that colour as well. It's, I don't know what you call that, like sort of, it's like not really mustard. It's just, I don't know, it's just like a really rich yellow colour. I just really like it. Maybe an ochre, maybe a bit darker. Anyway, so that's everything that's really happened this week. So I feel like I've got a whole pair of pyjamas sewn. I've got a blouse sewn. I finished off this shirt. So yeah, I feel like I've been more productive than normal. As I said, I'm away this week, so doing lots of Wedmin stuff. My plan is, because if I bring my machine, I know I'll just be antisocial and sew a lot of the time. And it's quite nice. It's me and my mum, and the lady who's doing the venue dressing at our wedding, who's a friend of ours, is coming up as well. And I just sort of want to be able to be like present for all of that stuff. I went back to my wedding dress shop today because we changed a little aspect of the design. So I just went to like firm that up, which is really exciting. And the dress is so lush. It's so nice. I can't even tell you. So much nicer than anything I could have made. Yeah, so that's exciting. Anyway, I'm blathering on. So my plan is to take some projects to cut out. I think part of the reason I've been quite productive recently is because I've been doing lots of batch cutting. So like in the school holidays, I'll cut a load of stuff. And then just means during the week I can, or during the weeks at work when I don't have a lot of time, I can just sort of sew bits and bobs. So I'm definitely going to sew this fabric you can see here. Oh, I can't point. There you go. This fabric you can see here, which is my Little Miss So-and-so fabric. I'm going to take that up. My parents have a really big table. And so I've been saving that because it'll be easier to cut out because there's some quite big pieces in the pattern. I might take up my organza, the Black Heart organza that I showed you last week. Nate is going to the Caribbean for a little bit later in the year to do some family things. and I was supposed to be going, but I can't because of work things. But I bought this fabric last summer to make him a shirt. It's like an ex Ralph Lauren fabric, and it would make a nice sort of summery shirt. So he sort of said, do you think you'll get that shirt done before I go away? So that's on my list as well. And yeah, I'm going to have a think tonight, I think, and plan maybe the things that I want to prioritise in the next few weeks. And that just means when I'm back at work and I'm stressed and I'm not getting anything done, that I can just sit at the sewing machine and sew for a little bit rather than having to worry about finding a big space to cut out. So yeah, I don't know if I'll have a Friday sews for you next week because, as I said, I don't think I'll be doing all that much in terms of sewing. I am going to do a January makes video. That's going to come, I don't know when, but I'll probably film it next week because I still got to photograph one of the things. And that's the other thing for next week. I'm going to be photographing. I'm really backed up with photographing things. I've got to photograph this. I've got to photograph the Marnie. I've got to photograph 2 projects for Minerva. I've got to maybe photograph my pajamas. I've got another jumper to photograph. So I'm going to take a load of stuff and then just do it all in one go. So yeah, anyway, I'm just yabbering on as always. Thanks so much for tuning in. If you enjoy the videos, please do like and subscribe and comment below. Update me on how your week's going and what you're planning to sew this week, or if you've got any nice plans over the half term, if you get a half term. And yeah, I will see you very, very soon. All right, bye.